Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. I am your host, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs, and joining me, as always, is your resident Green Lantern, Professor Travis Grossman.
What if I cracked this and didn't drink it the whole show? That's not going to happen because I stuffed like a quarter of a box of Cheez-Its down my throat before we started, so I need this.
What flavor?
That'd be kind of funny. The toasty ones.
Toasty, but like normal cheddar.
Yeah.
Or like, See, I as a kid, I always like. I think it's like white cheddar or mozzarella.
White cheddar.
So that's what it is. Those are my favorite as a kid, and it's a surprise to absolutely nobody. I will commit a war crime for the buffalo ones. That was like my favorite quarantine snack. Whenever, the farthest distance I ever traveled in a day was room to living room to kitchen to bathroom to room again. That was my jam. The buffalo Cheez-Its, those slap. But yeah, welcome everybody back. Hope you're having a good day and so on and so forth. Got a few news stories. We got one big one and then a couple of, here and there odds and ends type stories. And we're going to jump into the big one.
So I'm confused.
So am I. And we're going to read through this together and see if we can get to the bottom of what this actually means. Because for the first time in a hot minute, I am completely befuddled by the rights and who owns whose. And
I'm only confused. I'm only confused about one thing.
Okay.
Is AT&T selling WarnerMedia, or do they already own both and now they're putting them into one entity?
Yes, if I understand correctly, because at first I thought that they were selling it off and then Warner was being absorbed into Discovery. And that's how I understood it at first. And then I realized that what AT&T has been trying to do is let all of these different companies kind of stand on their own under their umbrella, but now they're sandwiching them together. And just one like colossal media company, if I'm correct. But we are going to run through some stuff here. So this is per Variety Fair. This is per Vanity Fair. A major front in the streaming wars has opened up Monday as AT&T announced that it's spinning off WarnerMedia and merging it with Discovery, creating a TV, film, and streaming powerhouse to rival content titans like Disney and Netflix.
Okay,
Discovery.
That's what's happening. They're combining Discovery and Warner Brothers into one unit.
Yes. Discovery boasts networks such as HGTV, Animal Planet, TLC, and Food Network, as well as Discovery Plus, the streaming service. It debuted in January. HBO Max, CNN, TNT, TBS, and Warner Brothers Studios are among the media assets owned by AT&T. AT&T acquired both of those brands less than 3 years ago in an $85 billion merger with Time Warner that marked the telecommunication company's arrival into the media business. A move seen at the time as questionable, views that now appear validated by the agreement with Discovery. If approved by regulators, the deal effectively reverses AT&T's years-long plan to combine content and distribution in a vertically integrated company, CNBC reports. Under the spinoff, AT&T said it will receive $43 billion in a combination of cash, debt, and WarnerMedia's retention of certain debt. According to Axios, offloading WarnerMedia will help the company pay down debt it accumulated from pricey deals like the Time Warner purchase. With the Wall Street Journal noting, the Wall Street Journal notes made AT&T the world's most indebted non-financial company. And DirecTV, another media asset of AT&T, has since spun off. The merged business has yet to be named and will be led by Discovery president and CEO David Zaslav. On a press call Monday, Zaslav said he and AT&T CEO John Stankey, you got to be shitting me, really? John Stankey had been covertly orchestrating.
That dude is only where he is because he got beat up in elementary school. Like, he's where he is.
This is an Elon situation.
Yeah.
On a press call Monday, Zaslav said he and AT&T CEO John Stankey had been. It probably doesn't help that I keep putting like a lot of emphasis on the K.
Mm-hmm.
I make it stank. Yes, stank. Had been covertly orchestrating the deal for the last few months. From his brownstone and expressed confidence, the valuable combination of news, sports, and entertainment content makes us one of the best media companies in the world. The combined entity could reportedly be valued at as much as $150 billion, including debt. The New York Times described the merger as creating a new kind of media behemoth, one that is still living of the fat profits of the old school cable while spending those profits and more on streaming. CNN is among several cable networks controlled by AT&T, including TNT and TBS. In addition to being a reality TV giant, Discovery also operates a sizable international sports business. The news, according to the Times, could set off another round of media deals at the time in the industry when, quote, audiences increasingly glued to Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok are requiring media companies to scale up. As CNN's Brian Stelter points out, Zaslav himself spoke to the reality in an interview with CNBC, in which the Discovery CEO predicted that the companies on the losing end of the streaming wars are, quote, going to say whoever we can merge with or whoever we can deal with, and if we can put up our IP, maybe we compete with Disney. We can compete with Disney. And during Monday's call, Zaslav said they're going to invest $20 billion in content.
So did AT&T own Discovery and WarnerMedia?
Yes.
Okay. So this feels a little dirty to me reading through, because I'm on AT&T's website. According to this, AT&T shareholders will receive stock representing 71% of the new company. Like, Warner Brothers and Discovery merge. They're now a new company on the stock market. They separate. The people that already own Discovery will now only own 29% of the company, which feels weird. Like, that feels like an odd amount to me.
Yeah, this is really confusing, and like there's a lot of moving parts here that I'm trying to wrap my brain around. Because it doesn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, WB and Discovery aren't like new things independent of AT&T anymore, are they? Or are they just out of the AT&T umbrella?
They are combining into one business.
Yes,
and then basically buying themselves from AT&T.
Okay.
And I think part of that transaction is giving the shareholders of AT&T 71% of the stock that will be created from this new company.
Interesting. Okay.
As well as just like buying themselves out. So, yeah. That feels weird to me on AT&T's part.
Also, any of this that we are getting wrong, I have every intention of going back and like amending this next week. Once there's an opportunity to like hear people who are a little bit more expert in this field talk about this. This is going to just be the opening salvo of this conversation. Expect a follow-up in next week's Nerd Academy once Travis and I are both able to kind of become more familiar with this. Because this kind of broke, like, we did not have a lot of time to come to understand this story in between it breaking and us recording.
We've been recording for about 10 minutes. I read it about 11 minutes ago.
And I kept rereading it because I still am like a little not understanding as to what the hell all this means entirely.
So it feels...
But yeah, what you're saying makes sense. And that's I couldn't tell if they were saying that or if they were fusing those two together to stand on their own under the same umbrella as like a sister thing, or how that functioned.
They're just selling off to be their own thing, which apparently AT&T needs the money. So good on their part, I guess. I didn't know Discovery Plus was a thing.
Yeah, I see commercials for it all the time.
I don't, and I'm going to be honest. I think what they're going to end up doing is just dissolving that into HBO Max once this whole thing goes through. Because
probably, yeah. Why have two different streaming services?
Why have HBO Max and DC Universe, right?
Yep.
But what this does mean is I can keep my HBO Max subscription and watch Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and I will be incredibly happy. That at 3 a.m. I can just put on Guy Fieri and just be in bliss. I can watch
the simple pleasures.
If they put Chopped on there, I can watch House. I can watch House Hunters. I'm going to become my father. I'm going to become my father.
Do you have any idea how much I envy you for being able to watch cooking shows? Do you have any idea how much I wish that kind of thing? Like, I got really jazzed about cooking stuff.
I don't like
I hate that my brain doesn't have that very necessary chemical to go, ooh, I can make that. I do that with drinks. Like, we'll have Bar Rescue on at the club a lot of the time now. And like, I'll be watching Bar Rescue and I'll be going, I can make that.
I don't get so much like, ooh, I can make that. I get interest, like, because I don't watch a lot of stuff. And like most cooking shows I watch are like binging, like YouTube shows, Binging with Babish, Joshua Weissman, that kind of stuff. Chopped is just like the best cooking competition show, I think. And that one and the one where like people compete to face off with Bobby Flay for some reason I see all the time, and I think that one's really funny. Because like that's just how Bobby Flay stays relevant now. He has a podcast too, I think.
Oh, good for him. We should have him on sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that, and then just Guy Fieri's just such an international gem.
Yes.
That like you can't watch Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives and not be happy.
You're not wrong. On the business side of this, news like this means one thing consistently, and that is that jobs are going to be lost. And it's sad to see. I don't like that element of this. It's interesting what's happening there with Discovery and Warner. Obviously, this leaves a lot of questions up in the air as to what exactly the future of Warner Brothers movies are going to look like, namely the big impact it has on this show, how this is going to affect the DC universe moving forward, if this sea change has any effect on the still ongoing Snyder movement. You know, we don't know how that affects things. We don't know how a change in leadership, you know, all it takes is one new person in charge to make certain creative decisions in either direction as to what happens to these movies moving forward.
I feel like nothing's going to really change. Nothing from Discovery is going to directly impact that department.
Yeah, I just mean like in terms of leadership and like what bills are being paid by whom and whom is writing contracts and checks and stuff, that different mentalities might move different pieces on the board here.
I just feel like it'd be like when Marvel got bought up by Disney, right? Like they left Feige in charge.
Well, it wasn't Feige in charge yet, though. A lot of that was still Ike Perlmutter. And that was the thing, was that like it took a while for Perlmutter to get, for him to walk. He was like, granted, like, and most people don't know about Ike Perlmutter. Like, you're as ingrained in this shit as I am, like that guy was like a ghost. Like Feige was like running the MCU, but Perlmutter still had like all the control over Marvel. He's the reason why we didn't get Captain Marvel and Black Widow all the way back in phase 1. Because he didn't think, female leads and leads of color would sell. That's that asshole who held the MCU back, quite frankly, for a very long time. And, I think a version of the MCU that introduces Captain Marvel, does a solo Black Widow movie and a Black Panther movie a little earlier, is probably a better one. But we like what we like here. Or we like what we have, rather. I'm seeing a lot of people trying to compare this to the Disney Fox merger.
It's nowhere near that big. I don't think it is anyway.
I mean, it's big, but it's also the issue I have with that comparison is that like this is a business move being made by a lot of people who are like trying to defend bottom lines.
Yeah.
Whereas Fox Studios put itself on the market. You know what I mean? Like this was done in the shadows. We didn't know about it until like now. If I'm not mistaken, there is one of the people who's in charge of one of these companies didn't even know until today when the announcement was made.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are kept in the dark here. Where Fox just pretty much came out and said, "Hey, you just want to do news. Who wants these movies?"
Yeah, and I think that's also the bigger difference is that like they only sold off their media, like the non-news media department, versus like we're not seeing like suddenly Batman and Superman were separated and now they're together again.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's now under the same umbrella you have the DC Universe, CNN, and the Food Network. Yeah. And that's why I think we don't see like, assuming the Justice Department signs off on this and everything goes through in in the next year or two, that like, and there isn't anything slimy going on in the background. For the most part, we're not going to hear about this much more after this, unless, like I said, suddenly on HBO Max, I can watch Guy Fieri go to different restaurants.
Yeah. And like I said, like we're talking about this now and discussing it as we've talked about on this show and the others before. Travis and I very much keep up with the news, both entertainment and real world shit. So once we get to hear more experienced people talk about this, we'll be back next week with a more comprehensive conversation to be had. This kind of thing just always kind of feels gross.
Mm-hmm.
Like my knee jerk, even with the Disney Fox merger, like there was so much excitement there because we knew how that would impact the MCU. And again, like as we've all said, we would rather people have their jobs than get like a Fantastic Four in the MCU. But Fox was selling itself. Like that was just, the only thing there was like, well, we can at least hope for the best buyer to pull through. That could only happen in a certain way. And again, like it's still not good that jobs are being lost there. That is still the part that is like irredeemable. And more that these companies could do to cushion that blow, even if they don't keep them around, those individual employees, that is. But Yeah, when we have a better understanding on this, expect part 2 to this conversation next week. Assuming huge news doesn't drop next week, like any trailers or stuff like that. Expect that to probably be our first story next week. Moving on to more WBDC related stuff. Oh, also, not in the notes, not going to be discussed a lot here, but we did get a trailer for the Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins movie because we're
That's
trying
still
to
a
make
franchise.
G.I. Joe's still trying to happen. The trailer looks cool. It looks like a whole lot of sword fighting and on top of neon colored buildings. And you had me at hello. Swords and like high-tech landscapes like that are always going to be be something that interests me. So I plan on seeing it because swords. But yeah, that's a thing. Go check out the trailer. It was neat. But with our next Warner Brothers related story, we have Adam Chitwood of Collider. Oh, also, that last story was from Charlotte Klein of Vanity Fair. Was the article that we were reading from on that one. So this is per Collider. Filmmakers have directed as many major franchises. Few filmmakers have directed as many major franchises as J.J. Abrams. The director's first film, Mission Impossible 3, revitalized the Tom Cruise-led film series and set it on course towards being the best franchise around right now. That is its own article. That he mispronounced Star Wars. That is also has some JJ fingers in it, as well as Star Trek. Shortly after Bad Robot struck a deal with WarnerMedia in 2019, it was announced that Abrams... I was hoping you were going to let it slide. I knew you wouldn't, but I was
JJ and the CEO of WarnerMedia got in a car. No, they didn't get in a car. They went up to try to fight a deer.
JJ went up to a deer holding a mystery box and just bludgeoned it to death. It was like, don't you want to know what's in the box?
No, he hit it.
You're not going to be happy with it.
The deer killed the CEO of WarnerMedia, and it's been a clone the whole time, and that's why they had to do the merger.
No. The deer won. And by ritual combat, the deer has been the CEO of WarnerMedia for years.
Wearing the skin of... Yes.
What's his name? Like Michael Keeler or something like that?
I don't know. I haven't been using his name for a reason.
Shortly after... Okay, we're going to try this again. Shortly after Bad Robot struck a deal with WarnerMedia in 2019, it was announced that Abrams production company would be involved in producing some DC Comics adaptations for WB. Justice League Dark is the one that we know of, and recently we learned of a Black Superman movie produced by Abrams and written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. So when Collider's own Christina Ranish spoke with Abrams recently during the press day for the Apple TV Plus series Leslie Story, which Abrams also produced, she asked the filmmaker what excites him about tackling DC projects. Impeccably skilled at never revealing too much or saying too much sometimes. Abrams answered by talking about the difficult balance in tackling beloved IP based on his experience. Quote from Mr. Abrams. Oh, Travis, there's a picture of you in this article. Well, I'll say that...
I didn't get to it yet, but I just saw it.
Well, I'll say that opportunity to get to work on any pre-existing franchise is definitely a double-edged sword. And while I'm incredibly grateful and proud to have been involved in the projects, of course, all I see is what things could have been and what we might have done. The importance of it is not lost on me. As temporary custodians of ideas, whether they pre-exist us or not, which is to say, I think even with an original idea, somehow I still don't quite understand where the creative impulse comes from and how the experience of writing something really is yours. I feel like we're all just channeling something that we're trying to serve, as opposed to something that we are doing, and that is our work. Abrams added that getting to work with pre-existing material is an honor, but also talked about how at the end of the day, it's just about telling a great story. I think being a temporary custodian of a project for as long as you have it is no small honor or responsibility or obligation. It blows my mind, of course, but you have to do the work. I think if you stay in a state of amazement at what it is you're working on, it's hard to actually get anything done. While Abrams' career began as the creator and showrunner of a series like Felicity and Alias, to date, he has only directed one original film, 2011's Super 8. Asked whether he would be directing any of these DC movies that Bad Robot is producing, the Rise of Skywalker filmmaker said he's eager for his next project to be an original story versus wading back into tackling existing IP himself. I know that Hollywood is a place where it used to be that people would be inspired by something, or that they would see an old film or show or something and think, oh, here's my response to that. Here's a version of that. It's become a place where more often than not, you see something and people get inspired by it and go, let's redo that exact thing. Oh, the irony. I feel like as someone who started writing in television and telling original stories on film and in TV, it is something that I really do miss. A few things that I'm working on right now as a writer are original ideas. I just feel as a director, I really would love to have my next projects be things that didn't pre-exist me necessarily. So yeah,
how that reads to me.
Yeah,
is
I could see your face. I knew there was like a Travis take inbound.
Just because I read that part of the quote before you read it just now, and I was like, oh, okay, he got real tired of people being like, you ruined X franchise for me. Hashtag not my Star Trek. Hashtag not my Star Wars. And he's like, all right, I'm done. I'll put some money in, get some money out, but I ain't doing shit otherwise. And honestly, I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. I think that as much shit as I love to talk about the Rise of Skywalker, and as often as I think
that's not blame I can put on him, entirely anyway.
That movie's a mess because of the mess that the fandom is, right?
Yeah.
Like I've been wanting to do like a Rise of Skywalker retroactive or a retrospective on Knights really badly, but bad batch. And I was saving this opinion for there, but I'll reiterate it down the road. But I'm going to say it now. We got the movie that we got with the Rise of Skywalker in a very The Dark Knight. You're not the hero. You're the hero the city deserves, just not the one it needs right now. Like that movie was the movie that this fandom deserved because it was everything and nothing all at once. It was that written and directed by Reddit style. That how we got there, who knows? There have been so many reports, be it Bob Iger messing with shit, Kathleen Kennedy messing with shit. This was originally the story they wanted to tell. We know how vastly different Colin Trevorrow's look on it was. And it was just a mess. And, I hope they learned their lesson from that to not try to appease certain chunks of the Star Wars fandom because it ends in disaster. And we'll see how that happens, in the future. Like we got, we have Bad Batch that just feels really new and original and isn't one of those like, well, people were demanding X and people were demanding Y. We'll see how those projects in the future in the Star Wars realm shake out and see if they learned that lesson. But JJ really got caught in the middle. And while he did make creative decisions, I think were kind of boneheaded. I don't think it makes him a bad filmmaker. And I think he maybe not as much as a Kelly Marie Tran, because or Daisy Ridley or John Boyega, who face a hatred from this fandom that is different from just me no like your movie.
Mhm.
There is a deep seated bigotry there that falls on Boyega and Ridley and Tran. Abrams is no different in the kind of like vicious hate campaign that has been thrown his way.
And I think it just happens. It wasn't as bad for him as them. And like, I think it's just that he's gotten it more consistently, right? Because like the Star Trek movies came out and people were like, "This is bad," because it's not Star Trek in quotes. I haven't seen Mission Impossible 3. I've never really watched the Mission Impossible franchise. Mission Impossible. But like that seems a movie that's right up his alley, right? He's good at I was ranting about Zack Snyder again last night at work because once again, Google will not let me forget about Zachary Edward Snyder or his Green Lantern that he wanted to put in his movie. Stop.
I hope your FBI agent watches the show.
They know what they're doing. The new one's the Henry Cavill nonsense. I've gotten every single article about that Henry Cavill Instagram post, and I'm like, I don't care.
I wanted to cover that, but I've also seen so many different interpretations of what the shit he might be talking about.
Yeah, I have no idea I didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, okay, like
I've seen some people saying that like this is him saying, "Please leave me the hell alone." You like to the Snyder cult because like since he wasn't super involved with the releasing of the Snyder cut, he's viewed as a traitor. There were also people saying that like
he was unhappy.
He dated Gina Carano a decade ago, apparently, that like he must be in her camp with all the shit that happened between her tanking her own career.
I'll put that in some big air quotes because I don't think that's what she did, but
no, costing herself a job in the mainstream so she can go make money in a very particular sector. But
yeah, see, the thing I heard that's why that story meant nothing to me because no one was actually talking about it. They were like, he made an Instagram post that was kind of shoddy in the sense that like he's firing shots.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about it, but we have no idea what he's talking about. Because the thing I heard was that he was upset about being there being a Superman recasting. And that he was trying to say like, I don't care. I'm happy where I'm at. Which like, sure. Just stop telling me.
The hilarious Rorschach test that is Henry Cavill's very vague Instagram post.
It's just like, oh, at least I'm not hearing about Zack Snyder. And now that I've said that, I'm going to get 4 more today about concept art of his Green Lantern, what the actor had to say. I don't know, what he had for breakfast today.
Unrelated, I'm kind of considering watching Army of the Dead once it's on Netflix.
My phone just buzzed and I thought it was a news alert. It wasn't, but I thought it was. And I was about to get upset.
What would you do if one of these days I like on a day where like Alexis isn't on TNAP proper? I have her on call to like text you and it's a link to a Zack Snyder story.
See, it's only bad because it's Google doing it. It's only like,
yeah,
I just keep getting the push. It's all I ever get. Like, I don't even get real headlines anymore. It's just things about Zack Snyder.
That's so funny.
Anyway,
that's funny as hell.
I don't blame JJ for wanting to do his own thing. He makes fun like spectacle flicks. I think he was the right choice for Force Awakens. I think he was the safe but not correct choice for Rise of Skywalker. I had to remember the name.
You know what? I will say I think he might have been the right choice for a director. I think Chris Terrio was the wrong pick for a screenwriter.
We can agree there. And I don't blame him for just like wanting to take a back seat, especially with like the direction DC's going right now.
Yeah.
With this Superman movie, it's like having him direct just doesn't feel right, and he knows that.
It's tone deaf as hell. If we're gonna be like Black Superman, here's Whitey behind the camera.
And I don't blame him for not wanting to do Justice League Dark.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I also think it would be.
I don't think Justice League Dark lends itself to his kind of filmmaking either.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is I think one of two things happened with a J.J. Abrams directed Justice League Dark. It turns out really weird, or we see J.J. really take a big swing and get out of his comfort zone and do something really different.
Yeah.
Than like high flying action and like go a little bit into the darkness that, is Justice League Dark.
But how would you have a screen flare?
It's like screen flare on John's like fire hands. But yeah, no, I agree with you completely on that front. Speaking of former Star Wars directors doing their own thing, when we go all the way back to the very first episode of Nerd Academy, Travis was running late for work. I had a vicious head cold, and I bent over backwards to have a story about a Knives Out sequel in the show notes, because I will do anything for Rian Johnson. And we are finally getting our first wave of news for the Knives Out sequel. We also know that we will be getting 2 Knives Out sequels going to Netflix. They will not be following the same family. However, it will feature Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc in the starring role. And we have had news over the last week that Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, and Janelle Monáe will all be joining Daniel Craig in the Knives Out sequel.
There was one more in there, I think.
Oh, shit. Yeah, Catherine Hahn. I forgot Catherine Hahn got added too. There's so many. Okay, so we got Catherine Hahn, Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, and Ed Norton all joining Craig as Benoit Blanc. And I will continue to say his name as much as I can because I love it. Travis, have you gotten a chance to see Knives Out yet?
Nope.
Cannot recommend it enough. I think you would really like it. Like,
yeah,
there's
I think
like
I would too. I'm just lazy.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I am with most media nowadays. I'm like, that's like, I keep telling people like, yeah, eventually one day I'll watch Godzilla versus Kong or Mortal Kombat or Judas and the Black Messiah or like any of these movies that I was like, that looks cool, but I won't see it in theaters. And I have the ability to right now. One day I will. But not today.
Yeah. Hey, once theaters are open again, it's just going to be regular outings. Like open in like a function of society again, I should say. But yeah, we gotta make a night. You would love it. I have no doubt in my mind that you would not come away really, really enjoying it. It shot into my top 5 like the night I saw it. Like it instantly became one of my favorite movies ever. Like it was just I love Rian Johnson's sensibilities as a filmmaker. His style really speaks to me, and I love seeing this blockbuster cast. Like it is a very particular type of star that he keeps pulling into these movies.
I like, because again, I haven't seen it, but I know the premise. I like the idea that the sequels only follow the detective, and
yes.
that like every cast we get is just like this insane cast of actors that can just kind of like flex a little bit throughout the movie. Like, I think if this continues, I think this could become one of those, like, actors want to be in it just to have fun kind of deals.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, I also think that like a lot of people were really, at least I was, I'm not a huge James Bond guy. I know Daniel Craig can act. I know he's a good performer. And seeing him go from Bond, James Bond, to, Sweet Home Alabama PI, it's a huge shift for him. So I'm sure after having years of playing, stoic, sexy Bond, that it's a great change of pace for Craig to turn into this, master detective who's a little bit of a dipshit.
Mm-hmm.
So I could not be more excited about this news. At some point, there is going to be a non-Last Jedi Rian Johnson month on Movie Club. And expect me to not stop, as a great poet once said, schlobbing on the knob of one Mr. Johnson. Our last story for you guys this week is a little one, pun intended, but it looks like the volume, the revolutionary piece of technology that has been used on the production of The Mandalorian, is making its way to the set of Ant-Man Quantammania. This is coming from the official Twitter account of Mr. Peyton Reed, our director. I love the volume set tech. It is revolutionary. I think that it is, again, another example of Star Wars changing the very DNA of how movies and stories are told. That said, I'm curious to see if this is actually the first instance of it being used on a Marvel project. We don't know for sure. To my knowledge, I haven't seen or heard anything about it being used on the sets of Falcon and the Winter Soldier or WandaVision. I haven't seen anything about it being used for Shang-Chi and Spider-Man Far From Home either, or No Way Home rather. So I don't know if this is the first Marvel volume project, but it's not going to be the last. So I think that's really exciting. We've seen just how much can be done with this. And yeah, like I said, smaller story, but worth noting for the fun and, behind the scenes stuff is always a good time. With that, I think that's all we have for you guys this week. A little bit of a light week.
I just scrolled through my news app to see if there's anything we missed that I couldn't remember. And I don't think there is. I don't think.
I don't either. Here's a little bit of fun personal news. And I'm not going to shut up about it because I'm excited. Hella Megator is back. And I am so excited because that was one of my biggest disappointments of 2020 was that I did not get to go on a pop punk romp with one black leader here with us right now. So T-Pose and Buggy for the homies to celebrate.
Yeah. I mean, like, here's hoping,
Here's hoping.
I'm not going to get too excited just yet. I'm going to hold off.
You're a wiser man than I, because I know I am chomping at the bit and way too excited as is, and I am setting myself up for disappointment. But
I don't think you are, but also, like, I just want to be sure.
You're right, and you're being far more cautious than I. I'm also on a little bit of a high because I finally got around to listening to the new Weezer album last week, and it has been on repeat for me. Between that and the new J. Cole album, which, like, you're not a hip hop guy, but it's good. Mm-hmm. If you want to shake your car a little bit with some bass, Yeah. So, Travi, where can the lovely people find your brother?
On Twitter and Instagram at Travis Political, and on Twitch at BlackLeader439. Just probably not this week. Jarod.
Yes.
Where?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, having an accidental viral tweet because I saw the Phantom Menace Pepsi vending machine in Pittsburgh this weekend. You guys can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Case and Brion, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, and Zach Canals. You guys help us make the content that we love to produce. Be sure to consider the $5 tier of our Patreon, where you get access to our exclusive shows, the Knights of the Nerd Republic Versus Series, Heroic History 101, and the Nerd Academy Podcast Movie Club audio commentary tracks. Be sure to click on the student store link on our website if you'd like to check out all manner of Nerd Academy new merch and goodies. Siri, go away. I didn't say your name. Don't talk to me, robot.
1 sec.
No, stop. I didn't say your name. Anyway, go get some TNAT merch. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Do all the things, and class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!
Ah! Oh, God.